You're all.
We had a really round table. It's kind of, it's kind of gotten to be a,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Everybody scoot in. Get comfy.
I came to the filming in Oklahoma. I'm from Greenville, Alice Reed.
Greenville, Texas, or
Yes,
Greenville,
yeah,
Oklahoma?
No, Greenville. There isn't a Greenville, Oklahoma.
There's
Greenville.
not?
There's 26 Greenvilles, but there's not an Oklahoma. There's an Alabama and a Mississippi and South Carolina, but Texas, yeah.
No,
When you were filming, I was there
great.
at the big auditorium thing scene.
Oh,
Yeah,
the end,
Yeah.
the end scene, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Have you all seen the movie?
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, it's great.
Good. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I was really curious until I saw the end credits where you filmed it, because certain parts, like when the old movie theater, it almost looked like downtown Denison or someplace like that. So I kind of thought maybe it was filmed here, but
Yeah.
you know, yeah, Oklahoma can certainly double for us when necessary.
Yeah, and vice versa?
Exactly.
They have the money, they have the incentive.
Yeah, they have the incentives
And
that
we
we don't
don't.
have. Yeah.
And we don't, so that was too bad.
We used to have the incentives here.
We did, we did
We're
all
working
kinds
on that,
of
right?
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotta tell the government.
So playing a character like this, a lot of times they say that, you know, the most fun for actors is when they get to be the bad guy. And this is a little bit more than just being the bad
Well,
guy.
that-
This is about being a character that has to be mean, but then transcend that. And I would imagine for you, that's a lot of a joy to sink your teeth into a character like that.
Oh, yeah. To play the bad guy in a film is usually the most fun, but you know that's when it's like you know, one of the comic book movies. It's
Yeah.
fun to play the bad guy in a comic book movie. This is a true story, and and this story in playing, I don't see Arthur as a bad guy. I see him as a person who was a product of his own circumstances growing up. To play an abusive father, a monster, as he was described by, rightly so, by his son Bart, it was what he was for most of their relationship, and that's made it very difficult. And I won't say I was hesitant to take the role because, well, I read the script, and to tell you the truth, I'd never heard the song. Even though I'm a Christian and you know, grew up with the Baptist church here in Houston, and I'd never heard the song, and so I was sent the script and the song. So I put the CD aside and I read the story, and that's when I read a script. That's how I choose the movies that I'm going to do. Is when I read the script for the first time, that's the only time that I'm going to be an audience member with the first time experience of it. And so I experienced the story, and that's why I did it. It was such a powerful story, being true as it was, and a very difficult role.
Do you ask yourself when you read a script like that, is it okay for me to be perceived this way in terms of, or is it you just gotta kind of get past that?
No,
Yeah.
that's I don't think so, because, well, for one thing, I've been around for 40 years, and I think, you know, I think it would have come out by now. And I just we were walking a line with this because abuse of children, and especially but it was Bart's story, and I was so impressed. Bart, I sat him down and he told me this whole story of his relationship with his father himself to me, and very brave to tell, you know, very difficult. And so wanted to walk this line of shooting it where, you know, because you're talking about abuse of children, but it's at the same time be true to the story. And what it winds up being is, and the reason I said yes is because it is a story of redemption. A redemption after walking through hellfire. And for both of them, really. And I was so touched. And then, of course, I heard the CD. And I see why it is the biggest Christian song there ever was, because when you hear the song, you're not listening to Bart's story. It touches you. It becomes your story. You relate it to something, because Bart wrote about his dad, and I think a lot of people took the song that you were talking to Jesus, because you could be talking to Jesus in the song. And I think a lot of people, and you don't really have to be a Christian to hear the song and make it personal to yourself. And hopefully, I hope that audiences feel the same way about the movie.
What has it taught you about forgiveness and any relationships, difficult relationships in your life?
Well, I always learn some. What I love about acting is because what I love about acting is that I'm fascinated with what makes people tick, and getting down to the root of who they are, why do they walk this way, talk this way, why do they say these things, why do they act this way, what's behind it. And Arthur, and I think a overwhelming majority of abusive parents were abused kids. And so this is their life that they know is normal to them. That, and then you add to that your own life experience and your stunted dreams, or and you transfer your life experience to your children. And when it comes to abuse, which was really terrible, and it was physical and mental and verbal abuse, you carry on that chain, and it's a wonderful story because it's true that Bart and Arthur were able to break that chain, and a willingness through, I think, divine intervention. I mean, divine intervention also comes with with human willingness.
And did any of your own personal experiences have any impact on what you were doing, as far as whether it was in relation to religion or parenting or just offering advice? Did any of those just really steer you in any direction in this acting?
Well, my dad he was a fantastic dad. He was a frustrated actor. Who never made it, but then he had a lot of the want to, but he didn't really know how to do it. And I think this was a key reason that my brother and I both became actors. But he was a great dad. He wasn't an abusive dad. He was even when it came to back when in the 60s and 50s growing up, you got the switch or the belt every once in a while, and he wasn't very good at it, to tell you the truth. And but he was a somewhat abused child himself, and or let's say ignored, and for whatever reason, from back there, his parents in the Depression, his dad in the Navy and gone, and then it's whatever. I'm not going to judge anybody, but my father broke the chain of that with his own dad, and I have a lot of respect for him for it. Really do. I remember walking into a place with my father, and I think I was 12. It was my aunt owned a bar on Galveston Beach, And my grandfather was in there, his dad. He hadn't seen him in a long time. And my dad went over to say hello to him there at the bar, and his father didn't know who he was. And my dad made light of it, but I could see the hurt. And anyway, he didn't pass that on to my brother and I.
I guess to kind of lighten it up a little bit. I'm a new father myself, and I have great parents, but I would say that movies were my babysitters growing up.
Right.
And a lot of traits that I feel like I'm projecting onto my son kind of come from a lot of the movies I used to watch that you were in, where you played
Yeah,
a father.
that's really funny, because that's what I tell people who are about your age, that I was your babysitter when your parents were in the other room.
Parent trap.
Parent trap and frequency,
Yeah.
things like that. And so, did you have any movies back then that maybe
Parent Trap.
contributed?
Yeah, like
Original.
both of
Brian
them.
Keith.
Original.
Yeah, and I had such a crush on Haley Mills, who came to the Royal opening in London, by the way, and finally got to meet her. Yeah, couldn't talk. Still. But yeah, of course, you know, you grew up with those films, and that's the way you think life is supposed to be,
Right.
right? It's and you know, as well as on television, the Brady Bunch, and you know, Father Knows Best, and Leave It to Beaver, and you know, all the problems get solved in 30 minutes, so we grew up that way, and it's wonderful to grow up that way. It's the way stories should be, you know, because but that's not the way life is.
Right.
Right, and so I would bet that you're actually first child.
Yep.
You're so you I bet you're kind of taken aback about all the things you didn't think about, right?
Yeah.
Have a new respect for your parents, for your dad, and I mean, you know, so. But you know, I did have, you know, several movies and TV. I really learned about it on TV, you know, but it didn't match up to my real life. My parents got
Ultimately,
divorced
yeah.
when I was
Shape it
about
into your
11.
own thing.
What?
So ultimately, you have to shape it into your own thing. But
Ultimately, I think ultimately, and I think that's what happened with Bart. And with, you know, you have to become your own father. And with Bart, you know, that became Jesus. You know, he became saved, and then Arthur did too. And that's really what changed their lives. Was that?
I'm Eva Coleman with iMessenger Media, and I basically look at abusers as wearing the mask, and so their victims wearing that mask as well. And when you play an abuser, what's it like after that scene is over? Is it like, hey, I killed that scene, yeah, I smashed that plate over your head, like really, really great. What's it like, or how do you take that offset?
Well, they're breakaway plays, and so so usually it's like the first time we did it, we realized, hey, I think I hit the wrong side of his head, because on the next shot it cuts to that, so we had to do it again. Yeah, I mean, nobody got hurt or anything like that.
But after just knowing that you're having to be so mean, what's it like after that scene is over, or when you go home at night?
Have you ever? Oh, I go home just fine. Believe me, that's not my life. I leave it right there at the set, and I go out and I have a great time.
That's what I was.
You know, I just continue to live my life. You know, I had my own kids there in Oklahoma City, and I went home and, you know, we went out to dinner and palled around. You know, I'm not going to hang on to that stuff. But, you know, it's doing it is doing it is, you know, is another story. I mean, you know, if you ever had like a real, like, scary argument with anyone, or been in a situation where when you're in it, and that's really kind of what it feels like, and then you still have to leave, you know, in between takes, you really still have to, like, be able to just drop it for a second, talk about it technically, and talk about it, what is really going on in the scene, so it's not just a mishmash. And, you know, because you're creating a story, and that's what the Irwin brothers, they were so great to work with, that they're great storytellers.
Bart
And-
told that you actually comforted him some. He was watching
Who?
some. Bart said you were when you were doing some of the scenes that you noticed how it bothered him, and you were
Yeah,
a comfort to him literally afterwards to say, do whatever.
Well, I played a lot of real people, and that I got to know. You know, Gordo Cooper, astronaut. I felt like I got close to Doc Holliday, to tell you the truth. And,
Yeah.
and you know, Jimmy from The Rookie. And he was on set every day. Jerry Lee Lewis was on the set every day. And I feel a responsibility to get them right. It's their story. And if somebody was doing my story, I would at least want them to get it, be authentic in the sense emotionally. But so with Bart, it was just like, I imagine it was very tough for him to watch his life being played out like that. So, yeah, in between shots of it,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay, Bart.
you know.
Yeah, he's the one.
And so I just wanted to get it right. That's all. For him first, and then everyone else.
This is also a movie about music, and you're also a musician.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, that's what started this whole film, was the song that he wrote about his father, which became the biggest selling Christian song ever. And because people relate to it in their own way, it becomes a personal song for you. Everybody really has something in their life. Everybody has a hole in their heart about something, not just being abused, or, you know, something in life, and or a family member, or someone who's gone, or they're, you know, and really what the song is really about is it's such a song of hope and inspiration, and what it's going to be like after, and song of victory. And yeah, and I'm a musician myself, and so Bart and I related right off the bat with that. And in fact, I wrote a song 25 years ago for my mother. It's like an old gospel song. It's called "On My Way to Heaven." I wrote it 25 years ago, but I never really finished it. And I finished it when we were doing the film.
Awesome.
It was just missing the bridge. And so I played it for him. And I've actually been in the studio this last year. And we did not finish it in time for it to be on the soundtrack. And that's fine with me, because this is Bart's story, Bart's film. But they are going to add it onto the DVD, and the special on it, and in fact, I'm going to perform it with Bart in Nashville next week, and with his band. My band is coming there. So we're going to perform it in Nashville, and if I get a chance tonight, I have to do a PBR gig tonight for pro bull riding over at AT&T Stadium, but. If I get a chance, he's performing here tonight, and I'm gonna try to make it. I don't know. I shouldn't have said that, because if it don't work out, then. But there's a time crunch.
Yeah, you're not too
But,
far.
yeah, we bonded over that.
So this isn't your first Christian movie. You were also in Soul Surfer, which
Yeah.
had a Christian tone. So is there any difference between doing a Christian film and a secular film?
No, that is the word Christian film, or the phrase Christian film, or the phrase faith-based film is just, it's the same thing as saying, like, every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie was a 13-year-old teenager film. Everybody goes, if it's a good story, everybody will go to see it. And so I think it's just fine that it's called faith-based, just fine with me. It kind of, I feel like there's a huge community that was underserved when it comes to the film market. I remember growing up and my mother saying, I wish they'd make movies that, had inspiring stories, and there's more of that, And that's what it says when you say faith-based film to that audience. But I did The Soul Surfer, and certainly in the playing of that, like Bart's faith and Arthur's, what he came to be saved, it's essential to the movie. It's essential to the story, because that's really their faith is what led them to be able to overcome to redemption, and have this beautiful relationship.
J. Michael Finley, who is wonderful in the film, by the way, when you guys are doing your scenes together, did you find time to kind of work out, because there's so much animosity there, but at the same time, again, like we were talking about earlier.
Could you start your question again? Because
sure.
I missed the first part of it.
J. Michael Finley, who plays Bart in the movie.
Right.
Who's wonderful.
Right.
When you guys are doing your scenes together, did you get time to kind of work out and figure out, because there's so much like animosity between the two of you, did you find time to work that out to where like there was an understanding there of how this is going to play, and then also later how it's going to kind of undo itself?
No.
You didn't have time to do that?
No, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was basically coming to the set. I mean, certainly we talked, but it wasn't all this like actor talk where you're working out the big scheme of things. We're just trying to make things work.
It's that much more impressive to know that you didn't.
And you come together like a stranger, like you and I are, and then we're going to be involved in this like.
You're going to be breaking
this scene.
plates over my
Yeah,
head.
you're going to break plates over your head, and you got to make me believe.
We're gonna take
Yeah.
one more question.
As a veteran actor.
And he was incredible, by the way.
He was. He's terrific.
He was right there every second with me, and I was with him. And that's what you do with that, is you bond together because out of fear.
Yeah. You made it work.
Well, fear is a great motivator.
Yeah.
It really is. And we got there, and give a lot of credit to Andy and John,
Yeah.
because they storytellers.
And as a veteran actor, who I'm sure you can just choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Do you
Yeah,
make
that's what I'd
a
like to
bucket
think.
list that includes something that you still desire to do, a role that you still desire to play that you haven't?
No, I have no idea what that's going to be, because, as I said, when I get a script, I read it, and it's the first time experience for me. I'm an audience member to the script, and if the story leads me in a place that I go, yeah, I'd like to be a part of this. But that's basically what makes my decision.
Did it help that he was a native Texan and you're a native Texan?
Well, it made it easy to drop into that. It's one less thing I had to work on.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis, if you want to